And I don't know if that was going to be enough to hold him. My money was no. But maybe you missed your calling. So, yeah, so Lord willing, those are going to be good for another 50 years and someone else can worry about it. So, but yeah, yeah, yeah. But yes, so a lot of things that can allude into. So, tonight is our last regular Wednesday night until the 4th of January. Next week, our Awana is hosting a party slash ministry. So the way I understand it is we can come here and there will be adults and teens going down to Fish to help pack Christmas food boxes, and the youngers, the parents of the youngers can stay here and watch a film. And I think the plan is to everyone come back here. I think, and then the 2 weeks after that, we won't have Wednesday night services. So we can plan according to that. Also, now that I've shown you the Christmas Eve lights, Christmas Eve service will be our Christmas service. Christmas morning, Sunday morning, we won't gather together. We'll gather together Friday night. So, and it will be webcast. So, just listen to what I mean. No, yes, you're correct. Saturday night. It doesn't happen very often, but this year's one of them. And our friends from Cornerstone will be with us, and so it'll be a great service. Please remember the gift bags for the kids in the Dominican. We're hoping to wrap that up on Sunday, so that'll be good. We've had a pretty good response, but there's always room for one more, so that'll be great. Let me say good evening. I haven't seen anyone identify themselves. Buddy did. Good evening to our online class. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here on this December May weather. But it's good to have you here. And it's funny, Jeff. I'm wearing my hat, but it makes my face darker. So I'll do this because Buddy wants to see my smiling cheeks, but I'll put it back on. So. But it's good to see you guys. A few things in the way of announcements. Caribbean kids bags on Sunday. Also, our business meeting on Sunday, 11:30. We're going to do that in here? Okay. And if you have questions or suggestions or things, we would love to entertain those. You can find the recommended budget online. There's also hard copies there in the foyer for you. Next Tuesday evening is the Ladies Fellowship. And, of course, as always, this is open to all ladies. And I believe it's going to be at your house. So that means you and I should go do something. We should. We'll show those ladies. Then the Awana ministry next Wednesday. And then Wednesday nights will be out until the turn of the year. A few things that are coming up that you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss New Year's Day. We will be meeting on Sunday morning, New Year's Day, for the aptly renamed Deacon's Pancake Breakfast. It once belonged to the pastors, but not so much, and then our host church has been selected here in town. If you're not familiar with that, we have breakfast here together, and then our secret host church is announced, and we go there for Sunday morning worship. The goal is to encourage the saints to enjoy worship as other people enjoy worship. And just to show the world that, Christians can be unified by simply the desire to be together. There's no special cause. There's no special condition. We just want to be together. So we have a great host church this year. And I have never attended a worship service at this church on Sundays. So I'm kind of excited about that. And so it'll be good. Please continue to pray for Brother Buddy and Miss Anita. Jeff, how's the family? How are things? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good. And Jeff was so sly, sliding in his prayer request Sunday during Sunday school, just like he was going to lay that out there and no one was going to notice. So what's next step for you, brother? Okay. Okay, next steps. Okay, very good. Well, we'll continue to pray for you as well. And let's continue to pray, as they come to our minds and hearts, all the folks that are going through that year of firsts, after the homegoing of a loved one. It's not just, that period of time, but it's really an entire year. It's the first 4th of July or the first Thanksgiving, the first Christmas, and they are all uniquely difficult in their way. So just remember them. And had a great conversation earlier this afternoon with someone who's going through their year of first without their dad, and just encourage them in the Lord. So, any other prayer requests that you may be aware of? I know there's quite a bit out there, but that you'd like to mention. I did not. Are they here in Greenville? Did she say? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, Misty's grandmother. You know, she's older and has been ill, but has apparently taken a turn. So we want to pray for grace in that. I was invited to the home of a lady yesterday that I've known for a long time, and she's in stage 4 of her cancer battle. She discovered it and was diagnosed. She was at stage 4. So we were visiting, and had a great conversation. She had gone and made her arrangements, and part of that was securing her pastor for the service. And but we had some great conversation, me and the two of them, and got to talk about grace and sin, and the timeless question why, and got to talk about original sin, and so it was a good conversation. Difficult, of course, but okay. All right, we will certainly do that, buddy. It's funny, he says it, and then I look down and it's there. See, if I were more diligent just to look down. That's right. So, but so Sunday we will have a message. So Sunday's message is entitled "The First Noel." How original can that be? I don't know. And then a week from Sunday is our Christmas communion. Excuse me, and it will be aptly named "Come, Let Us Adore Him." Yes, paid a lot of money to access those titles, but we'll have communion a week from Sunday, and that's going to be always a wonderful time. So, good stuff. And if you are looking for information about the calendar, it's available on the website. It's also available in the Facebook area. So, all right. So Sunday was a good time. I love when we talk about family and when we dedicate time and commitment to families. What did you guys think? What were your thoughts? Have you seen other family dedications or baby dedications? And how did that reflect or compare with others that you may have been to? Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the goal, is to remind all of us, that we have a privileged responsibility with anyone that entrusts their lives with us. So, you want chocolate or non-chocolate? Snickers? I was going to get Hershey's Kisses, but guess what I didn't do? So guess what I don't have to do? I don't have to get Hershey's Kisses because tonight's Wednesday night. That's what I'm saying. So anyway. Any other comments on Sunday? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Chocolate or non-chocolate? Ooh, we're getting low. This might be it. So, bacon chocolate? No, that one might not be up for public. That might have to stay with me. Like I said Sunday, there's not a right and a wrong way. This is a way that I enjoy, and I feel like it expresses, you know, who we are and things. Um, so we talked about family on Sunday, and I really enjoyed that. Does anyone remember where God instituted the family? Let me ask you this: is the family a biblical institution? You had Cain and Abel. They were the first Thanksgiving politics. They couldn't get around the politics at Thanksgiving. But what if I told you the family was the first institution that God created? He created Adam, and he saw good. It was not good for man to be alone. He created woman, and he gave Eve to Adam. The family was the first institution. He said, "Be fruitful and multiply." So it is a natural understanding why the family is so important to our society. It is the bedrock. It is the cornerstone of of society. And as the family goes, the challenges and the blessings can follow in a multitude of ways. And so when we look at the family, it's not just blood. Does anyone here have family that you're closer to that aren't blood than family that you are blood to? Oh yeah. I love my family, but as far as day to day, emotionally intimate, I mean, I'm closer with you than some of my siblings just because of the distance that we live apart. And it's not better or worse, but it's different. And then, there's a lot of things that can draw us and build very intimate and meaningful and powerful relationships that we call family, even if it's not genetically associated. I have I have 8 siblings. Only one of them share DNA with me. Well, that's not true either. One of them shares full DNA, and then 3 of them share half. Never mind. I went to school to study Bible and not genetics, but all of my siblings are my family, and we're not birthed by the same parents. So the basic unit, as Webster defined, was parents and their children consider as a group, whether they're dwelling together or not. So, does anyone recall one of the 3 groups that I gave to us on Sunday that sometimes will come together and consider themselves family? I gave 3 groups. Anyone remember one? Or let me back up. 3 reasons why people coalesce together. Okay, a cause. A cause is a special unifying purpose. What are some causes that people come together as and can become kind of a sense of family? I'm thinking of one right off the top of my head. Oh, yeah, yeah. That that will bring people together. Sure, absolutely. What else could, whatever the other causes can bring seemingly strangers together, and even people of differing nationalities, differing economic levels. One that comes to my mind is Susan B. Komen. The whole breast cancer awareness and fight. I mean, we would probably hard pressed to find someone who's not been touched by that in one way or another. I lost my mother-in-law to that early on in our marriage. So there's that, but there's things that can bring us together, and we can feel like family. There's a shared commitment and a shared passion, a shared sorrow. So we had a cause. Does anyone remember one of the other two? We have a choice. The things that we just choose to. Now, when you put 100,000 people in Jerry World on a Sunday, and it's a real good game, those 100,000 people in there would consider themselves family, for varying reasons. But the things that we choose can cause us to come together. And then the last one I shared was a calling, and that's typically more of a spiritual inclination. It's interesting today. Let me ask you this. Do you ever hesitate to use the word family in conjunction with church, with people? No? Okay. We are. That is biblically true, but why would someone maybe pause to use that word about church? Chocolate or non-chocolate? What am I feeling here? Starburst. That is a surprise. And I mentioned this saying, the truth is when we use the word family, it may not always bring about good feelings. And it's sad that that's the truth, but sometimes, and is that political correctness to think about not using the word family when you're talking? Is that no? Okay. Because I wrestle with that sometimes. Because sometimes I'll read a room or I'll read a person, and depending on where they are or maybe what they've shared with me, sometimes I will change my vernacular because I don't want to close a door before I have a chance to maybe step into it. You say, hey, man, you should come join our church family. And they're back there and they're going, well, if they're anything like this family, I don't know. So we have three primary groups that we coalesce together, and we can call ourselves family, and that's good. It reminds us that family is shared passions and purposes, shared victories, shared defeats. I would recommend to us that it's sharing in the defeats, the struggles of life that make us more intimately connected than the victories. Because when you have shared the cup of sorrow with someone, then you have shared something. The people who stay in when it gets really hard are fewer than the ones that want to run to the party. And, we all have our things, right? We all have our struggles. And, sometimes, there's kind of a self-preservation mode and different things, but those things. So the family and the church have a special, powerful relationship. So there was a day, it seems further away now than it used to be, that family and church were almost the same thing. I tease today, in my life, Jeff and I have talked about this. When we were younger in church, we would spend, I could spend easily 15 to 18 hours a week at church, and you didn't think anything about it. So your life kind of revolved around that. Well, it's not that way today. It's a different world. But there's a powerful relationship still. It's not as intimate and it's not as time committed as it once was. But the family unit, whatever that looks like, single parent, or different things. One of the challenges we face today is, how do you define a family? It's, my sister raised both her kids, and she was a single parent, and she did an incredible job. She was a family, and she had, family to help her. And we have young families, and Josh sitting up there, he's in finals week, and I've caught him trying to pull his hair out. He came up here the other day, and he was up here till after 11 o'clock, and I told him, I said, "You're starting to look a whole lot like me, Josh." And he says, "Well, it's finals week," and he goes, "There's just kids at the house." And I go, yeah. I said, when I went back and did my post-grad work, I didn't have kids, so I didn't. But when I did the others, Jeff, you remember? Yeah, man. God bless Josh. It's good to be an empty nester, but we come together, and the church and the family still has a powerful and pivotal relationship that we must recognize and we must invest in. And the challenge that we face is there has to be a mutual investment. The church can do everything that the church can do, but ultimately, the church doesn't have the power of choice. There's a constant shuffling. Back in the day when we would spend 15 to 18 hours at church on Sunday, you'd start at 9:30 probably, because church was at 9:30. Yeah, 9:30. Then you'd have Sunday school, and then 10:30 you'd have break, and then 11 to 12. If you were at Park Street, 12:15, 12:20, you'd have church. Then you'd go to lunch, and you'd have to go to lunch with everyone out, all the other Christians in town. And so that'd take you down. And then discipleship training started at about 4. And if you had any sort of meetings before discipleship training, of course, that would start at 2 or 3 because you couldn't interfere with discipleship training. And then you'd have evening church. And then, of course, you'd have to go out to eat again, and yeah, amen. Eating out twice a day. Then you'd have visitation, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you'd have, when we instituted the family meal, that was such a great thing. And yes, it does meet family needs, but can I just pull you behind the curtain? It was just another way to get you there earlier. It was a great bit, but it was a great bit. And then, so on Wednesday night, you'd have dinner, and then you'd have Wednesday night Bible study. And then what did you have after Wednesday night Bible study? You could have ice cream. Choir practice. Yeah, you got to stay for choir practice. And so, but all of that, and so the challenge we face today inside church life, running church life, is, do we give more options? Is that the key to getting a higher investment of people? Well, the challenge that we face today is everyone has more commitments than ever. Back in the day, if you recall, Jeff, that they didn't do extracurricular anything on Wednesday nights. They didn't even make homework on Wednesday nights. And now, Wednesday night's just another night. And you certainly didn't do kids' athletic tournaments on Sundays. Unthinkable. Well, that's not the case today. And I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm just saying it is what it is. And so we wrestle with that challenge, right? Do we put more products available in hopes that there'd be more investment from the family side? But the challenge is you still only have 24 hours in the day. And you only have so much energy. And so now trying to find that equilibrium between being able to offer what is important and what is valuable and what is wanted versus balancing you with your non-church activities. It's a challenge. It really is. I was visiting with one of our new families today. I reached out and invited them tonight, and the mom says, "Well, we're hoping to change our daughter's Wednesday night activities to another night so that she can plug into youth." And I said, "Oh, cool." So after the first of the year, they think they're going to, it's not a doing away with, it's a shuffle. And I'm like, okay, cool. That'd be great. So we have this. And so what do you feel like are some of the real keys for families when having to make that decision of Sunday morning 9 o'clock, Sunday morning 10 o'clock, Wednesday night 6:15? You guys are the ones making those choices. Every one of you guys had something you did today, and then you had a space between what you were doing and what you're now doing. And in that space is where the decision gets tough because you're tired. You might have laundry. You might have work. I know L3 is just piling it on you guys. But in that space is where that challenge, that commitment gets challenged. What's the key to keeping that commitment during that period of time? What do you think's a key to keeping that commitment and actually going? Catherine, you have a couple of kiddos, and you and your groom had a whole lot of kiddos today, and you drove here from Royce on what was formerly known as I-30. Today we call it the Greenville Caddo Royce Speedway. But here you are. So what do you feel like is important that in that interim period that you were willing to stay committed to being here and bringing the boys and all that entails? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Giving them the best they can have. Yeah. Yeah. Man, easy now. You're gonna push me off. Yeah. 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 And yeah. And I want you to know we've discussed Sunday Night Awana. Now it's been a few years now, but yeah. But what? One of the greatest challenges to a Sunday Night Awana, we entertained the idea, was now culturally we mentally go Monday morning by about mid to late Sunday afternoon. That's why you see this slowly decline in Sunday night is because like if you have kids, if you want to know what people are thinking about, go to the grocery store at about between 4 and 6 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. We've got a Dollar General there in Lone Oak, and if you go in there between 6 and 8 p.m. on Sunday, you are fist fighting because they're in there lunches and last minute projects and all those things. And so culturally in our minds, we're already into Monday before Sunday's even over with. And so we wrestle with that. Yeah. 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 It's an oasis. Yeah. Yeah. It's an oasis. Oh, I'm telling you, on the occasion that I'm not here, if I'm on vacation or something and I'm not here on Sunday and then I'm not here on Wednesday, my week is weird. It's like my equilibrium gets thrown off. And another challenge one is, and I just want to affirm you that this is an investment for the future for your boys, and that choice is going to be all the way, because youth, it's a choice because the little ones don't fight you as hard as teenagers. Teenagers can make you more miserable than littles can. And I encourage people all the time. Listen, I hated going to church most of the time as a teenager, most of the time. But it was one of those things. Once I got there, it was all cool. But getting there, but I am so glad they did because just like you are wanting My parents gave me something I had no understanding of until later on in life. So, but part of the challenge, I'm sorry. Yeah. 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 Yes. Yeah. Habit or priority. I hope that the people in your life, when they go, oh, okay, it's Wednesday night at about 6. Well, I don't need to look for them. I know where they are. You know, and it's good. It's a good thing. And Sunday morning worship attendance is decided like Thursday, or if there's a decision to make. I always tell people, listen, if you wait till Saturday night to decide whether Sunday morning corporate church is going to be a part of your Sunday, man, you're lucky to bat 50%. You're tired. You know, I don't want to fight the kids in the morning. Oh man, I just binged on Netflix. Whatever it is. But when we go and we say, listen, this will happen unless divinely hindered, this will happen, then we'll adjust. Or you know what? Sometimes we just have to bite the bullet. There's some Sunday mornings, I'm not going to lie to you, I would like to not get out of bed. And I love being here. So, yes, making it a priority or a habit, yeah. And there's an old saying out there, it's true. It says, the more that you miss church, the less you will miss church. T-shirt worthy, but it's true. Yeah. See, Wednesday night's one of the best times of the week. I love Sunday mornings for a lot of reasons, but to be able to sit and be with you guys, I love that. And on Sunday mornings, it's kind of cool. So yeah, Wednesday nights is a wonderful. Um, I'm not going to say a kept secret, but the church and the family are the opposite sides of the same coin, and we give and we take from each other. So what are some of the positives? What are some of the benefits that the two institutions can give? Because God created what? The family in the garden, and then in the book of the Acts, what did He give us? The church. So the two institutions God gave creation is the family and the church. And so when we come together, what are some of the things that we can give to each other, the church and the family unit? What are some of the positives? What's that? A support structure, absolutely, absolutely, man. Jeff will tell you. You know, there's just nothing. I will get weepy if I start thinking about it. Yeah, there's just yeah, 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 yeah. And you know what sadly we can prove. I think it was Jefferson that no, I think it was Franklin who said familiarity breeds contempt in children. You know what can happen if we're not careful? Even inside the church family, that familiarity, and we start thinking, gosh, what do I need this for? Da 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 da. Because, you know, it's not until we have opportunities and needs, and you're like, oh, this is what. And so we have to be very careful. Right. Right. And and it's okay to share those things. Anyway, but I digress. But we can give back and forth. But there's also challenges. It's important. If you have a church, and I'm going to use it's a harsh word. But I'm trying. I don't know what. If your church is dysfunctional, that's a really heavy word. But I can't think of something more light. It can have that effect on the family units. The two kind of mirror each other, and that's why it's so important that we strive to make sure our church family is healthy. Now, healthy doesn't mean that we don't have struggles. Healthy doesn't mean that we send Ronnie to a different church. Healthy doesn't mean that you come to church and you fake it until you make it. Church should be a place where you can come and, you may not step up here on Sunday morning and undress emotionally or whatever, but you could have somebody or some bodies that you can do that with, This should be a safe place. I had one of our ladies some time ago. She was just walking through some stuff, and one Sunday morning she fell asleep. And I just want you to know, I've had some of the greatest people in the world fall asleep while I'm teaching, and it doesn't offend me in the least. And she came to me and was very apologetic. And this was my response to her. You were in God's house with God's people under God's word. And if being here brought you enough peace that you could take a little rest, then where else would I rather you to be? Right? Now, that may not be the attitude of everybody everywhere, but here, yeah, sure. If you wake up after Jimmy's prattlings for 45 minutes and you go, man, I feel great. That's right. Hey, you know what? Because I said, I told her that, and I absolutely mean that. And I said, and besides, now you can just go watch it on YouTube. You get both, if you so want. But part of the challenge that we face is we have this give and take of the two institutions, and we have to make sure that both institutions are being authentic. That's a funny word, isn't it? But authentic and vulnerable and accepting and compassionate. Because if we're not careful, sometimes a church is where you go and it's like other places. You want to put on the best face. You want people to think about something that maybe isn't accurate. And I think the adversary takes advantage if we're not careful in that. It doesn't mean that we come and, but we need to have that give and take between the two pillar institutions that God gave to us. That's what I was looking for. Authenticity. We just need to be who we are to the very best of our abilities, of course. Sympathy. There's a time. Empathy. There's a time. To be empathetic for someone. Acceptance of differences. Acceptance of shortcomings. Acceptance of, what are some other things that the church needs to be sure to offer to the family and the family needs to offer to the church? What do you think are some other things that would be important? Role models. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. None of us are perfect. That's the given. But, those of us that are empty nesters, we can, be a role model and encouragement to those that are with the littles. I never realized how much energy it took to have children in the home until I didn't have them. And now I look around at you guys and I'm like, holy cow, I get tired just watching. And, being an encouragement, listen, you're doing the right thing. And I believe with absolute certainty, you will reap benefits on your investment. And I applaud that. We just burn out. Well, I've had friends say I'd rather burn out than rust out. Yes, absolutely. I learned so much about being a godly man, about being a godly husband, about being a godly father. I remember once when I was at Artist Heights with Brother Ken Johannan and his wife Kathy, just saints of the Lord, and their son Eric. He's like the son I didn't have to pay for. Well, Eric went a little sideways one time, and I made this statement. Eric, your dad's the pastor, and I expect more from you. That was the wrong statement. Miss Kathy, kindly and gently, at an appropriate time, took me aside and instructed me firmly. Now, if I'm being fully authentic, my first response was, oh, what incredible godly wisdom you're giving to me. Thank you, Kathy. My emotions, but I didn't speak. I received what she was saying to me, and to the glory of God, processed through that. And you know what? That was monumental in the way I raised my children in the church. My children, I wanted my children to be godly children. I wanted them to be, but they were not the church's children. And just because their dad was a pastor, they didn't have a choice in it. They just got birthed into this program. And so I'm so thankful for that. Yes, absolutely. Role modeling. And like I said Sunday, we never get to stop doing that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right. They do. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Because everyone needs a little encouragement. There isn't anyone who is offended when you give genuine, heartfelt affirmation. And if we take the time and think about it, there's always something, you know. And oh yeah, oh yeah, oh man, yes, yes, yeah. All right, all right. Well, I'm going to bid our evening digital church, good night. We love you. Thank you for being here.